Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Do you dread hearing the question, what's for dinner? Whether you spend your days keeping up with toddlers, running kids to after-school activities, or juggling a career and family, getting dinner on the table can be a struggle for us all. I'm Mariefiebach, a business owner, wife, and mom of 4. I'm on a mission to build stronger families one dinner at a time, and I'm here with tips, tricks, and inspiration you need to feed your family tonight. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast, episode 148. We are almost to 150, friends. I cannot believe that I'm only 2 episodes away from that. Today, we are going to be talking about 4 ways to fix vegetables. I don't know about you, but I don't know very many families who say, we're good on veggies. Most families I know would happily eat more veggies if A, their kids would eat them without complaint, and B, they were super easy to fix. Today, we're going to talk about 4 ways to fix veggies, and I might give you a little bit of inspiration. I always want to remember that when it comes to weeknight dinners, having very simple meals is totally okay. I highly encourage it, but small little tweaks can make a big difference. I'm going to have lots of links in the show notes to recipes. For those of you who want to follow recipes to a T, I have recipes for you. For those of you who use recipes only as suggestions, you might get enough inspiration from what I've said today to go and try something maybe just a little bit different than what you've already been doing in your kitchen. And I hope that all of you find at least one way to serve veggies that just makes life a little bit more pleasant in your home. My ideas today are in no way comprehensive of all of the ways to fix veggies. They're just 4 ways that might give you a little inspiration and make eating veggies a little bit more fun or a little easier in your home. So we're going to start with number 1, which is to eat them raw. My family prefers raw veggies. I am not exaggerating when I say we eat 5 to 10 pounds of carrots a week. Oh yes. We go to the store and we buy the 5-pound bag of organic carrots, and sometimes that doesn't last me all week, and I buy a second 5-pound bag. I try and clean the whole bag at one time. Doesn't always happen, but I try to. And my kids will eat them plain by themselves as carrot sticks. They'll eat them dipped in hummus. They'll eat them dipped in peanut butter. If you haven't had a carrot dipped in peanut butter, it is worth trying. It's really very yummy. A lot of people eat celery with peanut butter, but carrots with peanut butter, it's kind of yummy. I am a big fan of letting the grocery store do the work for you. But when it comes to carrots, baby carrots are kind of meh in my house. They just don't have the same texture and they don't taste the same as carrots that are peeled and cut into sticks. Now, baby carrots completely have their place. First of all, if your family doesn't care and doesn't notice, keep buying baby carrots because you can save yourself so much time. And there are seasons of my life where I'm like, I don't care if the regular carrots are better. I don't have the energy. I don't have the time. I don't have the brain space. And we're going to have baby carrots for a while. I've used baby carrots in my ginger glazed carrots. I'll link to that recipe in the show notes. That's a cooked recipe. I've also used baby carrots in my Asian carrot soup. Oh my gosh, that soup is so good. Those are both kind of cooked applications, and we're talking about raw right now. But those are places where I have effectively used the grocery store shortcut of having baby carrots because they're already cleaned, they're already cut, and it makes life a little bit easier. I have a friend who goes to Sam's or Costco every week, and she buys one of those pre-made veggie trays, the kind of thing that you grab and take to the potluck or the picnic. She buys one every week for her family, and every night at dinner, she pulls out the veggie tray. It's already got the dip. The veggies are cleaned. The veggies are cut. Each family member takes what they want off the veggie tray. She puts it back in the refrigerator, and the next night she pulls out the raw veggie tray again. And that's how they eat veggies in their family. That is about as easy and simple as it gets. It totally works for their family. And that might work for you too, especially if you're in a really busy season. Let the grocery store do the work and buy the pre-made veggie tray. In our family, we eat a lot of salad. I am talking, I buy 4 to 6 3-packs of romaine hearts every week and at least 1 box of mixed greens, like the really big box that you get at like Sam's. And sometimes those 6 bags and the extra box of mixed greens doesn't even last us all week. Salads are our staple in our home, and our salads are really basic. I mean, we put lettuce and some chopped carrots and some chopped celery. If I'm getting really fancy, I'll have a bell pepper or a cucumber or maybe some grape tomatoes. But seriously, most of the time, it is lettuce and carrots and celery. Very, very, very simple salads, but my family eats them. And that was because I learned early on that my family did not prefer cooked veggies. And so we start every meal off with a raw salad. And that way I don't worry. If they eat the veggies with dinner, great. If they don't, no big deal. We started eating salad as soon as it was safe for my kids to eat it. When salad was no longer a choking hazard, then we started serving salad. My kids have eaten it from the very beginning. I know not everybody's family is going to like salad, but that is what has worked for our family. Raw veggies are just the easiest way to get veggies in you. I've talked before about letting the grocery store do some of the work for you. You can buy pre-chopped bags of broccoli and cauliflower. If your family doesn't mind the baby carrots, buy the baby carrots. What kind of raw veggies does your family like? When you find out the kinds of veggies that your family likes, add them to your weekly grocery list and keep buying them until your family gets tired of them. And that happens sometimes too. So if that happens, if your family eats raw salads without complaint for months on end, and then all of a sudden they decide they're not eating raw salads, great. We can move on to our second way to serve veggies, which is to cook them on the stove. And that's kind of a big category. There's lots of ways you can cook them on the stove, but I'm going to talk about a few of them. And the first one is my absolute favorite way to eat veggies that have been cooked on the stove is to have steam fried veggies. I have a recipe on my website for frozen veggies your family will actually eat, and that is the technique of steam frying. When you are steam frying veggies, you are putting them into a skillet with a little bit of water, a little bit of fat, and definitely a nice heavy hand of salt. You've got to have salt on these veggies to have them taste good. Put the lid on and cook the veggies through, then take the lid off and let the water evaporate, and then the fat that's already in there will go to the bottom, and then the veggies will kind of brown if you don't stir them, if you just leave them alone. They'll get nice and brown and a little bit crispy on the bottom. And they are crazy easy. They are so delicious. And the best part about it is the easiest veggies to steam fry are frozen veggies. Frozen veggies are your friends. They are already cleaned. They are already cut into the right size pieces. They keep in your freezer for months on end. So if you are going and doing a big deep dive grocery shopping trip, like I talked about in episode 99, you can buy a ton of bags of frozen veggies, keep them in your freezer, and pull them out. I cannot sing the praises of frozen veggies enough because they make your life so much easier. And steam frying is my absolute favorite way to have frozen veggies. Another way you can cook veggies on the stove is just to steam them on the stove. Get yourself a steamer basket. I'll try and link to one in the show notes. I've had one for years. I'll find one that's similar to it. And it's just a little metal basket that you put inside a saucepan. You put water in the bottom, and then the veggies sit in the little metal basket, and the water boils and the steam cooks the veggies. It's a real simple way to cook veggies. I also really like to saute veggies on the stove. I have a great recipe for sauteed mushrooms that don't get greasy. So many times when you try and saute mushrooms, they get really, really greasy because mushrooms are like little sponges and they like to suck up everything. But Cooks Illustrated figured out that if you cook the mushrooms in a little bit of salted water, they actually release the water from the mushrooms, and then you let that water evaporate and then add a small amount of fat, and the mushrooms will get really brown and crispy and delicious. And they're so simple. I'll link to the recipe in the show notes, but you can saute just about anything. You can saute mushrooms. You can saute onions. You can saute carrots. Just about any vegetable you can saute on the stove. So sauteing is a great way. My third way that you can cook veggies is to cook them in the microwave. I have a 20-year-old pampered chef microwave vegetable cooker, and it's basically like a plastic bowl that has a lid with some holes on it that you can drain the water out of. And I use that pretty frequently to throw some frozen veggies in, put it in the microwave, and let them cook. If you don't have one of those snazzy little tools, it is just as simple to put the veggies in a bowl, put a little bit of water in, and then put a plate on top of the bowl. And that's going to keep the steam in the bowl. You just want to be careful lifting it out of the microwave. Make sure you've got like some hot pads or something, because those bowls can get really, really hot when they cook in the microwave. But that's a really fast and easy way to cook some veggies. An easier way is to buy steam and bag veggies in the frozen section. We're back to singing the praises of frozen veggies. You can buy steam in bag frozen vegetables, and you take the bag from the freezer and you put it in the microwave, and that is it. Some of those veggies even have sauces with them. And if you find a steam and bag veggie that your family likes, buy several bags of them, keep them in the refrigerator, and pull them out once or twice a week so that you've got a super easy veggie that takes no brain power, takes no time, and you can have on the table that's easy for your family. I don't really count potatoes and sweet potatoes as veggies, but as long as we're kind of talking about microwave cooking, you can totally microwave potatoes and sweet potatoes, and they come out really good. They have a softer skin on them, so you don't get that kind of crispy skin as if you are cooking them in the oven, but they work great, especially if you're trying to make something that has like a sweet potato puree. You can just microwave them and then puree the sweet potatoes. The big caveat is you want to make sure that you are piercing the skin several times with a knife or a fork before you put them in the microwave, because you want to have little holes for the steam to escape. Otherwise, you're going to have an exploded potato in your microwave, and it is not fun to clean up. Ask me how I know. So take my advice and pierce the skin several times, but you can totally microwave potatoes and sweet potatoes. My fourth way of fixing veggies is to roast them. I love roasted vegetables. There's something magical that happens with the dry heat of the oven and the vegetables, and with a little bit of salt and a little bit of oil, and they get crispy and tender on the inside, crispy on the outside. I am a big fan of roasted vegetables, and there's two ways that you can roast vegetables. The first one is totally basic way. You take the vegetables, toss them with a little bit of a fat, add a little bit of salt, maybe a little bit of pepper, and put them into a crazy hot oven until they are browned on the outside. You can use any kind of fat that you want. You can use oil, you can use bacon grease, you can use ghee. Butter sometimes works and sometimes can be a little problematic. Sometimes the protein in the butter has milk fat, milk protein, and a little bit of water. And sometimes that milk protein can burn a little bit. Depends upon how long you're roasting them. I don't like to roast hearty vegetables like potatoes with butter, but if you're using something like pepper or onions that aren't as hearty and don't take as long to roast, butter should be fine. Ghee is a good alternative to butter. It has that butter flavor. It's made from the butter fat, but it doesn't have any of that milk protein in it. And so it has a higher smoke point and it doesn't burn as easily in a hot oven. So ghee works really well if you're wanting that buttery flavor without worrying about the milk proteins burning. Now that's the basic way to roast veggies. But if you want veggies that sing, try blanching them in salted water first. I have a recipe on my website. It's called Blanched and Roasted Veggies. I probably should have titled it something much sexier, like the best roasted veggies you will ever eat, because honestly, that's what people text me when they try my recipe. I have friends that will send me texts and they will say, we ate all the veggies off the pan before they even got to the table, because the blanched and roasted veggies are that good. Friends, it takes a little bit extra work, but the little extra work makes all the difference in the world. When you blanch veggies, traditional blanching is cooking them in boiling water and then taking them out of the boiling water and then putting them into an ice water bath to stop the cooking immediately. I am not that fancy with this. I cook them in heavily salted. You know my love of salt. I've talked about that on previous episodes. I'll link to that in the show notes. But you've got to salt your veggies in order for them to taste good. And so I have this big pot of water that is heavily salted. And I add my veggies to it and let them cook for just a minute or two, and then transfer them to an oiled rimmed baking sheet. Sometimes I use avocado oil. Sometimes I use ghee. If I am cooking Brussels sprouts, I am always using bacon fat because there's nothing quite like the taste of Brussels sprouts and bacon fat. You've got these veggies that have cooked in the hot water and they've started to absorb some of that salt. And then you put them in the oven and you roast them and they get browned and crispy and they are delicious. They are so, so good. Roasted vegetables that have been blanched in salted water first are just amazing. And my final tip for fixing veggies is to blanch these vegetables ahead of time and then put them in your refrigerator and try eating them cold. I tend to blanch 2 to 3 days worth of veggies at a time. I'll blanch my first batch and get them in the oven cooking. And while they are cooking in the oven, I've got this boiling pot of water. And so I'll cook veggies for a couple of days later. Just cook them in the salted water for a couple of minutes and put them in a container in my refrigerator. One time I was cooking asparagus and I happened to eat one of those cold pieces of asparagus before I took them to the oven. And it was so delicious. Cold blanched veggies have a little bit of salt. They have a slightly softer texture than straight raw veggies, especially with things like broccoli. You know how broccoli, the stems can be a little bit tough? By blanching them just a little bit in the salted water, the stems kind of soften up. If you have a kid that needs lunchbox veggies that are cold, but they're kind of averse to the textures of some of the cold veggies, you may want to try blanched veggies that have been chilled. They are a little bit softer and they have that salty taste in them, and it just makes them absolutely irresistible. I am not the hugest fan of broccoli. I will be totally honest with you, but broccoli that has been blanched and then just chilled, I will just eat straight out of the bowl, and I'll find myself like eating like 2 cups of broccoli without even thinking about it. So if you've got a kid that's a little bit of averse to vegetables, especially raw veggies, this is kind of a way to branch the cooked versus raw divide on both sides. Try blanching them and then serving them cold. They are absolutely delicious. Friends, I hope this inspired you, at least with a spark of creativity, to find a new way to cook veggies for your family. To recap, you can eat them raw. You can cook them on the stove by sauteing them, steam frying them, steaming them. You can steam them in the microwave, or you can roast them. But the absolute favorite is to blanch them and then roast them. Join me in the Feed Your Family Tonight Facebook group. I would love to hear how you like to cook veggies. And if you try a new technique after listening to this podcast, will you just come to the Facebook group and tell us? I would love to hear how it went for you. For now, friends, I hope you are doing well, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.